Good morning and welcome to this EU Clusters talk, where we are focusing this morning on smart support, AI tools for effective cluster management. I'm Andrew Lansley. I'm counsel to Low Associates who join with our colleagues in support for the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, which provides such a remarkable level of engagement and support to those who are providing cluster management and supporting their own businesses and communities across Europe. We're very much looking forward to today's discussion. I would encourage everybody to be aware, firstly, that there is a recording today. Secondly, that we are looking forward to a number of Slido questions, and we're very glad if you're able to use your smartphones and get a QR code loaded when we get to that so that you can answer those questions so we can have audience participation. Throughout this morning's discussions, do please use the question and answer function or the chat function. Put questions up on the Q&A, please, and we'll hope to bring them into our discussion, particularly the panel discussion, where we have some excellent contributions in mind. And also, please use the chat, particularly for things like references and additional information that people can pick up on and use. We're looking forward to a really interesting discussion this morning and a great deal of valuable information. Obviously, AI is increasingly in use. Everybody is increasingly aware of it. I think in some ways, we're aware both of the opportunities and the risks. But I think today the particular focus is on ensuring that AI is the tool that we use for our purposes to meet our needs and to improve our performance in our cluster management and otherwise. So it's very much on a practical level to look at how we can use AI in order to improve the support we give to business across Europe. We're very much looking forward to hearing from Esther Diaz-Perez from the DG Digital at the European Commission, and from Antonio Novo, President of the European Clusters Alliance, and very well known, I know, to many of you. But as we customarily will do, we start, however, with an opportunity to hear about some of the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform and the forthcoming events. So, team leader, Nina, would you be kind enough to tell us more about that?
Many thanks, Andrew, and good morning to everyone. We invite you to the EU Industry Days, which will happen on the 5th and 6th of June in Rzeszów in Poland, with the support of the Polish presidency of the Council of the European Union. And the agenda will focus on competitiveness and decarbonization, innovation and investment, as well as security and resilience of the EU industry. So mark your calendars. It's EU's flagship event on industrial policy, this time taking place in Poland in the beginning of June. And the registration is open so that you can secure your spot for the EU Industry Days. And as a side event to the EU Industry Days, we also invite you to Clusters Meet Regions for the 3rd and 4th, same location. And at this event, we bring together policymakers, clusters, businesses, and research institutions to discuss how clusters can strengthen the regional economic development through collaboration. And we will have high-level discussions as well as hands-on engagement opportunities focusing on dual-use technologies and defense readiness, circular economy and decarbonization, and unmanned and autonomous systems. So if you're coming to the EU Industry Days, make sure to also come to the Clusters Meet Regions the 2 days before as well in Poland. In case you and your regional authority are interested in hosting a Clusters Meet Regions event, you can still apply until the end of this month. You find all the information on the ECCP with the application form, as well as the white book, where you find all the information necessary, what is needed, and what we're looking for the hosts of such an event. But as I said, the call is still open, so you can apply either to host one still this year, in the second half of the year, or for the next year. The deadline is until the 30th of May. as I said, together with your regional authority, look at it and see whether this might be an event to be hosted by you. And we also invite you to the matchmaking event, which is another format that the ECCP offers, this time to India, which will take place on the 29th until the 31st of October, looking into matchmaking with Indian partners in renewables, clean energy and storage, smart grid and energy infrastructure, electric mobility, and green finance and investment support. Here, the financial support for clusters to go to India, we can cover up to 20 European clusters. So travel accommodation is, as well as the entry to the Renewable Energy in India Expo is covered. And you'll also have the chance to visit seminars there, have special site visits, a guided tour of the expo, as well as to visit some stands. And then, of course, to have the matchmaking and pitching sessions during this event. There are more events that we have in store. You see on this map, we go to Italy, we go to Romania, to Slovenia, to Finland, and to Germany with the Clusters Meet Regions events. We have some matchmaking in Egypt and in Romania as well, in addition to India, which I already presented. So a lot going on for some registration starting now. So keep an eye out on the ECCP comms channels, and you can already note down if in case there's something particularly interesting for you, so that you have that in your calendars, and we will update you with the registration once they are open. And with that, I hand over back to you, Andrew, so that we can get started.
Nina, thank you very much indeed. There's some excellent forthcoming events and opportunities at those. Thank you very much for that. What we would like to do now is to establish some of the knowledge, of the level of knowledge about AI amongst our excellent participants this morning. You can see on your screen, hopefully, the QR code. Do please, using that QR code, join the Slido questions, which we'll be asking now. There's a number of these questions, so do please stay with us so we can get an overall good picture of people's use of and familiarity with AI. Let's begin with the first. If people would be kind enough to go onto the Slido, use the QR code. And the question we're first asking, please, is how familiar are you with using AI in your daily work? And there are options: using them regularly, experimented with using AI tools, aware of them but haven't used them, but not familiar at all with what those tools are. So let's bring a number of colleagues. I can see the number is continuing to rise who are answering this question. Do please keep adding your names in. By the way, very glad to have so many greetings from across Europe in our chat function this morning. Very good to have you all with us. Now let's start with that question: how familiar are you with using AI in your daily work? And we have some 40 plus of our members, our participants are answering. I know we have more than that. We're at 85 participants, so I'm going to give just a minute for people to load up the Slido and to answer this question. We're looking really for a representative sample, so I won't delay too much. Okay, so with 40 participants responding, we can see that more than half use AI tools regularly. The great majority of others have experimented with it, and a number are aware of AI tools but haven't used them. A very small number not familiar with AI tools. So we can see the degree of value in today's discussions, very high. Lots of people not only using them regularly, but many also just experimenting or finding out more about AI tools. Thank you so much, everybody. That's the first question. Let's turn, if I may, move things on to the second question. Which area of your work do you believe AI could most improve? Okay, I think you can choose more than one. Do please choose those where you see it as something that you would expect to make a significant impact? First of our respondents has said all of them. Let's see if that's the same view for everybody. Let's see. Let's bring. Do please. Yes, I can see many people are joining in and adding their view on this. So there's a range of possibilities: admin tasks and productivity in the way in which you manage the organization for yourselves, market intelligence and research and analysis of consumers and markets, communications and engagement and outreach. In innovation, of course, so many clusters are themselves promoters of innovation projects, member engagement, working with members, event management, scenario planning and risk analysis. A number of options there. We've got approaching 40 of our participants again have responded to this. Many choosing more than one of those. Let's have a look. So yes, very much in the field of using AI for one's own administration and raising productivity, but significant majority seeing it as something for communication, outreach work, market intelligence, yes. Somewhat about half using it with innovation projects, scenario planning, an expectation of use there, and member engagement. Some event management. So very widespread uses, some balance that is really focused on what are effectively the interior work of an organization. I'm sure our speakers and panelists will be watching this and themselves taking on board what it is that is people's expectations. Let's move on from this second question and move on to our third question, which is much more to ask you to tell us in your words, and we'll build up a word cloud from it. Which AI tools do you use? And do please refer in any way to the characterization of the tools, either by generic reference or by reference to their brand names. Do please feel free to use whichever is the way in which you would refer to an AI tool. So let's have a sense of what are those tools that you use. We're bringing those up. I can see ChatGPT is featuring significantly. I have to confess to you all that if you were to look on my apps, only ChatGPT would be the one that you would find on my app immediate available apps. Now we're getting quite a lot coming up now. So approaching half of our, not quite half of our participants telling us about that. There's a very wide range of these. Many of these will be known to our speakers who are experts in these things. I think they'll find this very interesting to see what are the range of AI tools. Many that I confess I don't know about. Many, no doubt, that will be well known to our speakers and they'll be able to see. So the ones that are coming up are ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, and a large range of additional specialist AI tools. So it's getting to be a very interesting and wide-ranging set of uses. That's just illustrating so many different AI tools, so many potential use cases. Let's just, before we conclude, ask you one more question, if we may. Thank you for that word cloud, by the way. That is an extremely valuable reflection of the tools that people are presently using. And I know all of our speakers and panelists will really value that. Let's move on, if I may, to the biggest barrier to adopting AI in your organization. If more than one of these applies, do please indicate. So, but don't feel obliged to say you have a barrier if it doesn't apply, but do please say if it does apply. Data privacy and ethics, lack of knowledge or training, lack of clear use cases, some resistance to change, which is inevitable in all walks of life. Let's see how our colleagues who are coming on and responding to this are feeling about the practical barriers to adopting AI. Lack of knowledge or training, well, this is really something we would clearly expect with this relatively new technology. I know that's going to be really valuable to listen to what our speakers and panelists have to say today and the materials that they can refer to. Data privacy and ethics, I know we'll come on to that at a later stage. Obviously, access to budget when adopting new tools and so on. Question is, how rapidly can one derive value from AI tools that enables one to use one's budget more effectively? Clear use cases. I think we'll find for those who don't necessarily know what the use cases for AI may be, that we'll have some excellent examples today. Okay, Al, thank you very much indeed for responding to that question. We can see that lack of knowledge or training and data privacy and ethics come out at the top of the list of barriers to adoption of AI in your organizations. Picking up on that question of what are the potential use cases, let's turn, if I may, to hear from Antonio Novo, very well known to the whole cluster community across Europe, president of the European Clusters Alliance. Antonio, please, would you tell us more about what are some of the potential use cases that we can look to for the use of AI?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. Yes, we will review first use cases, later tools, and after that we will have a common discussion, not only between the speakers that we will have today here, but also with the audience. So this is a special edition of the Cluster Talks. It's not just, I will say, presentation of different approaches, but also, I will say, a workshop where everyone is expected to contribute. We have seen that there is something like half of the audience that has a strong experience, daily experience on AI applied for cluster management. So we expect from learning from you today. Don't hesitate, especially today, don't hesitate to use the chat. Don't hesitate to contribute with your experiences, your ideas, your approaches, and your mistakes, because today is also about learning on what should be avoided. As everybody knows, this is a very new technology. We are all learning very quickly and making mistakes, and the best way to avoid them is to share them here. So, next slide, please. So we will discuss potential use cases in different areas. We don't have enough time to go deep in any of them, but I will again propose you to enrich those potential use cases with yours in the chat box. You could in the chat box, if you have links or I don't know, tools recommended for those use cases, don't hesitate also to share them. The first one, as we saw in the slide or question, probably the most common use for AI, generative AI, is administrative automation of productivity. I think most of us are probably using it for improving our newsletters, our messages, or our documents. You know, it's quite easy to use generative AI for making summaries, directing minutes, or suggesting improvement to our contracts. But of course, we know that there are many risks in doing it blindly. So we need always, we will not say it enough today, we will always review the results, the suggestions coming from the AI tools. At this moment, at this level, we need that. There are some systems that are autonomous, near autonomous. For example, those that are driving vehicles, autonomous vehicles. But it's not the case for content creation. It's not the case for summaries. Generally speaking, summaries are quite regular, quite average, and they mostly miss the many of the fine points on the discussions. So we need to be aware of that. But it's true that they are very systematic on the review of all the points discussed. So that is a very clear use case. Some of us are using it also for helping us on arranging meetings or reminders or follow-ups. It's also an utility that could be integrated in some of the applications that we are using for that, okay? And probably some of you more advanced in the use of this kind of tools are also applying workflow optimization. It could be something not very well known for many, but it's one of the, if not the biggest application, the most extended application now on industrial companies. The automatization of processes, the improvement of processes, robotic automatization. And it is not so complicated to apply at our level. There are many tools that make it quite easy, to build a workflow and to connect some of the modules in the workflow with the generative AI tools, meaning not all the workflows need to be developed through AI or through generative AI, mostly because it is quite expensive. But it's true that the application, for example, in our workflow that receives emails and derivates then to the right person in the staff, analyzing the contents of the email, this kind of workflows are, I would say, easy to implement and useful when managing a strong quantity or big quantity of emails. Next group will be about knowing our members and improving the engagement with them. Many of you are using CRMs. It could be that they have this kind of tools integrated, or if not, it's something that you can do. Currently, you can connect many of your GPT tools with some areas for storing files or databases, and it will be quite easy to store information about your members. And based on that information, to personalize, I will see the messages or filter, or addressing specific needs or a specific interest in, I will say, an optimized way. Of course, this is something that is very much, I would say, related to the GDPR protection laws at the European level, and we need to be very aware of what information are we storing, using, where are we doing it. If some levels must be, of course, storing at the European level, and if we have the right permissions for doing it, and if our members are aware that we are doing it. But say that, of course, there is a strong area of potential uses of this kind of technologies around how we engage with our members. You can use AI tools for finding opportunities or finding partners. It's also very common. In fact, the European Commission, for example, the STEP project is developing internal tools for offering this kind of optimized search from the tool itself. We will see it, I will say, and not very, very far in the future. But anyway, there are tools now for doing it, And it's also, I would say, quite useful for us when exploring this kind of opportunities. Could we go to the next slide, please? So, another area that for me personally is, I would say, one of the most common uses is the idea generation. More than idea generation, because that usually is made by the team. Checking ideas, improving them, looking for alternatives, looking for areas that could be missing, or looking if somebody has developed that idea before, or what kind of success of mistakes or barriers have they found. So everything related to the definition of an idea, or not everything, but many aspects of that process can be supported by these kind of tools, you know, and even for identifying, I don't know, titles, fancy titles of catching titles, or you know, for those ideas could be supported with these tools. So it's, I would say, an excellent co-pilot in this case for driving those ideas, on making them, building them up. Of course, you can use it also for monitoring the progress and checking what kind of barriers have been found or are being faced by the ideas. Market intelligence, another big use for GenAI. We know that for many months, because now we cannot speak in years, months, we have had the opportunity to have deep research analysis, exploring current information on internet. And we are aware that the most critical information is not internet. It's true. Not everything is shared, but it's also true that developing those kind of deep research using this analysis, we are able to have a very comprehensive scope of what is published in the web. We need to complement it with our internal knowledge or external one, with a specialized one. Is not I would say it's not brilliant most of the time, but it's very comprehensive and complete if well done. That's a reality. So it's helpful. It's not I would say it's not the solution, but it again is a very good contribution to your activities, and could save a lot of time and inspire new approaches. So if you haven't tried it, please don't hesitate. I don't see comments in the chat. I don't know if you are hearing me with, but please don't hesitate to contribute, because it will be very helpful. If you disagree with me, or if you have using specific tools for this kind of market intelligence, or if you are using opportunity in another way, don't hesitate to contribute. It will be good for us, for everyone. Data-driven scenario planning and risk mitigation. Again, I don't know, I can give you concrete examples. For example, we have been contributing with the S3, Smart Specialization Strategy of our region during the past year, okay? And we use these kind of tools first to, we inform the systems on the data sources for other regions working on the same areas of Smart Specialization Strategy, and we were building up some scenarios on depending on what kind of actions we will involve, what will be the potential situation in the future. So this is something again is inspirational, is something that is not definitive, but could help us to think about, to inspire us, or to challenge what we think, to see the I will say the world with other perspective. I also would recommend you to use for this kind of scenarios different tools, because in fact, for example, we use different tools. We use one of them, for example, Mistral, the European one, the French one. So it's not when we are using AI for strategic decisions, we only use it as inspirational, and we look for as many inspirational inputs as possible, because the decisions are important. Next slide, please. Of course, about communication and outreach, it's excellent, I would say, no? And content generation and targeted campaigns. Excellent, but I would say quite average. So again, my personal recommendation would be not to use it blindly, not to create content just based on some inputs or some big ideas. Only the human edition make the contents excellent. It's at least is how I see it. Okay, but it's true that for correcting contents or to there are many tools now for adapting the messages to the target group. You know, that could be different, and that could be members, but could be also general population, could be policymakers, could be. So these kind of tools could be very helpful. Of course, also multilingual translation. You know, I don't know if you know, for example, that now Google offers a very simple plugin for WordPress that is able to translate with a very high quality level your website for any language managed by Google, and those are a lot. And so it's quite easy now to communicate with any visit to your website in their local language. As an example, just as an example. Okay. Event planning and delivery. Okay, again, you could look for inspirational ideas when you are defining your events. You could look for other models, other ways to engage with your attendance, or matching them when you are organizing a matchmaking event. So it could be or planifying all the aspects of the event. Again, these kind of systems are very good on, I will say, covering all the aspects of an idea, of a methodology. And of course, it's also good for analyzing the post-event information. Talent, skills, and development facilitation. You know, this is an area where I would say training and skilling, upskilling, reskilling our team and our members has been always critical. You know, how to analyze the needs, how to face those needs, could be supported by this kind of systems, or how to develop, I would say, to define contents for a training course, if you are defining them, could be also supported. Of course, not defined by the system, but supported, meaning you could miss some modules, or you could miss, or I would say you could be inspired by how others are doing it. So we don't have time today for a session on prompting perhaps we could organize one session in the future, but it's also very important how you ask the system. What do you ask the system for? How you build the question. If you want just inspiration or you want final product, that my recommendation will be not to ask for those kind of not draft, but final product without reviewing it deeply. I think that those...
Antonio, thank you very much indeed. That's an excellent, a very full set of potential use cases. We've got a question come up, and indeed quite a number of issues in the chat. Can I just give you a chance maybe to respond to some of those? So in the chat, I think people were very interested, and we're going on to look at some of the AI tools, but I think the relationship between AI tools and use cases is what many people were trying to look to, how to, and of course the whole of this morning's session will give all of our participants hopefully access both to what the use cases look like and indeed what are the relevant tools for that. But if you wanted to say a bit, our colleagues were particularly very interested about which tools work best for things like smart scheduling and workflow optimization. I don't think not everybody was clear that that was possible. Another area, two other things, Antonio, if you don't mind. One was about data, of course. AI, particularly the more advanced and generative forms of AI, in effect, in organizations like the clusters, have their own proprietary data. They have a lot of their own data, which is part of the process of using AI. But I think there's some concern, of course, about the where that data then finishes. If one is using a tool that is more widely available and it accesses your own data for these purposes, is that data then able to be retained and kept for your own purposes, or does it form part of this wider tools access to data more generally? So how does in a way the AI tool depends upon accessing the maximum amount of data, but data, of course, is in itself extremely valuable. The other question in the Q&A, Antonio, in IDEA yourselves as managing director there, how do you use AI is the question we have there in the Q&A at the moment.
I think that we will keep those questions for the discussion later, or
okay.
There are many of them, okay, and all those, many of those related to tools will be discussed just now, okay, after this block. The next block is on tools and how to do, what kind of tools we could use. The one on data management can be addressed in another block that we will have related to the EU regulation. And I will prepare, because I didn't include a slide on robotic improvement of processes, but I can prepare it and share with the audience, because I think that they could find it very, very, very useful if interested. So I will not, because if I take the time now, I think that we will steal some of the contents for the next speakers.
Absolutely.
But let's return later for those
questions. I quite understand, Antonio. That's absolutely fine. And indeed, many of the questions are exactly about understanding what the AI tools are and then relating them back to the use cases that you very so helpfully outlined. Let's move on then to AI tools. And Antonio, we're really delighted that Esther Diaz-Perez, who is Head of Data, AI and Innovation Policy at DG Digital in the European Commission, joining you. Esther, welcome. I wonder if perhaps you would take the opportunity now to tell us more about some of the European and international tools. Perhaps start with the European AI tools that might be available for our cluster managers.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to do, as you mentioned, there are many AI tools in the market, but I want to introduce a brief summary of some tools that the Commission is developing, not only for internal use, but also by the use of other external stakeholders, as for example, the clusters. So next slide, please. In this case, next slide, this is the just the introduction. So I'm going to start by an easy one, that is a chatbot, an intelligence assistant that it's hosted in the Publication Office site. If you are not aware, the Publication Office's site is the official place where all the EU legislation, EU research, and different publications from the Commission is stored. And as you can imagine, there is a vast number of documents, and sometimes it's not easy to find what you are looking for. So the Commission has implemented this chatbot that you can see in the right part, where it can help you regarding you, directing you with questions on the content that you are looking for. In this case, it can help you to sort, to search for documents, for persons, if you are looking for someone in a EU organization, but also on the different constellation of European institutions and agencies that sometimes is not so easy to fathom at a glance. So it's very easy to use. This is a tool that with an easy interface, and you just need to write, as you are doing on other tools, on plain language, natural language is what you are looking for, and following a conversation with different questions, it will help you to find and narrow the search of the documents that you need. Next slide, please. Then we have here a second tool. This is also based on, let's say, a search functionality, but in this case, this tool, a part of using AI, it has a knowledge of the context of the document, and this tool has been implemented for different bodies of knowledge, like the EULES, or the legislation of the Commission, and also national legislation, CORDIS, that contains all the results of the project or the research projects, and also the publications repository of the European Commission Joint Research Center, that is our department for research, where they do multiple studies on a variety of range of topics. In this case, the important part of this application, please, if you go to the next slide, is that when you type what you are looking for, in this case, I was typing power as electricity, as you can see already in the right, it looks for similar terms that can be interesting for your search. So you can already select not only one word, but all the terms that you are interested. And then next, you can click it for next slide. Then it will give you the result not only for the initial term, but also for all the terms. So that will help you to improve your search when you are looking for a specific research paper or document. Also, this tool has a capacity to be downloaded as open source and to be integrated in other repositories of information. But this also will require a bit more of technical knowledge, but it's just for you to know that also this distributed on this way. If you go to the bar at the top or the documents and about, you will have the user manual and the instructions if you want to try to implement it locally. And next slide, please. We are going to pass now to a different set of tools that are related to language services. Antonio has mentioned before that Google has translation services and all that, but sometimes depending of the language, or sometimes depending of the context, or because you are using, as it was mentioned, your internal information that you don't want to give to other parties, you could use the multilingual capacity tools from the Commission. In this case, there are a multiple set. You can see there are several tools available that all related with AI capacity, but I'm not going to explain them in detail because I will need practically the morning. So, but I'm going to introduce you briefly the most relevant ones. So if you can go to the next slide, Also, what I want to explain is that these services are financed by the Digital Europe program, and they are free to use by a part of the European institutions, by public administrations, national administration, small and medium-sized enterprise, academia, non-governmental organizations or non-profit organizations. That probably will be the case of most of you, and a Digital Europe project. In this case, you need to register in the page, but after you register, you can, and you select which is your case, you can access all these tools. If you can go to the next slide. So I'm going to start by the most used one, I would say, and there's more also the one that is being longer into service. That is an application, as the name says, for translation. So the e-translation application can be used to translate short paragraph of text or long documents, or even you can do another test. The variety of languages are all the official languages of the European Union. And in addition, there are other languages like Chinese or Russian that are not part. So in total, we have 32 languages that you can translate quickly from one to another. Why this is relevant? Because sometimes other applications are very good on English or in the most mainstream, let's say, languages, but in different set of languages are not so good. This application has been trained with all the corpus documents from the European Commission and the European Parliament from the latest, I don't know, 10, 20 years. So it's quite adapted to, let's say, sometimes it's a bit of EU jargon, but there are now some modalities where you can adjust a bit the tone, and let's say that is quite adapted to our environment. Next slide, please. In this case, also, this is another type of tool. This tool is already based on generative AI. And let's say that these are tools that are conceived for a specific purpose on a way that any user, any person can use them easily without the need of knowledge on AI or without the need of prompting. In this case, the prompt for this tool has already been prepared by an internal team. And sometimes I can tell you that the prompts that we have for these tools can be 1 or 2 or 3 pages long because they take already in consideration many elements. In this case, this application is called a briefing because one of the most general tasks that is done in a public institution is a briefing or summaries for our directors or our hierarchy. But this, you can see, you can also use it as for an overview or for a tip of general briefing. What we call a briefing, let's say, is a summary of focus on certain topics, but that also include some type of information like what are the main points or possible questions or possible defensives. So even if you do not do briefings per se, let's say that this could be like a type of summarization tool. And this tool, you need to put you can see in the top row, the different points or the different focus elements that you want to the tool to put the attention. And then you can upload the difference here. This is not an open, like other tools, open tool, but it will create the content from the different documents that you include in the tool. So if you include, I think the limit is like 10 documents, and then it will analyze all these documents and focus on the topics that you have included. It will create a draft. This tool is not interactive. You upload all the documents, you put the request, and then you could download, as you can see in the right part, the result of the tool. And it will generate a draft content based on all the documents and it is a program to precisely for that, to try to minimize the content that is generated outside the information that you have given. So in this way, the answers and the quality of the content should be higher than in a regular application that is not taking in consideration your documents. If you can go to the next slide, this is an example of a document that is the output of this tool. As you can see, it has some structure because let's say if you select the profile for a briefing, it will have the regular structure that we use in the commission. So you can see that you have main messages, you can have questions and answers, you have a background, and maybe you have even other information. If you select the profile of overview, the structure of the answer will be different. Okay, so next slide, please. Then we have following a similar approach. As you can see, we have a new tool that is e-reply. In this case, the focus of this tool is to help you to reply to emails, to requests, or something that needs an analysis, but it needs to generate an answer, a reply that you are going to send to someone external. In this case, as you can see in the screen, in the top part, you need to upload what are the email or the text for the question that you want to consider, and also you can upload to the tool different documents that you want to use as base for the content generation. So in this case, at the same as the previous, you can upload your internal documents. In this case, for all these tools, this tool that I am presenting, all the content is secure. It's in the European Union. It's not given to third parties, and even we don't see what is there. So you can internally, even we can use for some sensitive non-classified information. And then on the same way, you will receive the request in a file, and you can select also you can see the different languages or that you want the output. So if imagine that you have received a question in English, but you need to reply in Italian, or on reverse, or you have received a question in Italian, you don't understand Italian, and you want to have another languages, you don't need to take a translation at the same time. Internally, it's calling a translation, and you will have the content at the same time translated. Can we go to the next slide, please? In this case, these are the most brand new tools. And in this case, the prompt has been specified for generating content that is appropriate for a web page. So as you have seen in the previous tools, probably the tone of the language is more formal because it's more related to documents or to a formal reply. But sometimes this is not a more appropriate way to include information in a web page. So in this case, we have prepared this tool to support web editors so that they can receive documents from the commission or your internal documents and prepare easily web content. So you can see, how it works. The tool is the same. You upload the files that you want the tool to analyze, and then you will have a file with the proposed content for the web. You have additional, if you go to the manual, to the help, you will have also additional instructions on how to use any of these tools. And then the next one is very similar, but in this case it's not content for the web, but accessible tests. So for example, for people that needs very clear tests, so more to understand, of adequate for some types of disabilities, or and to be able to be understandable, because we are here working usually with complicated tests, legal jargon, and to find a way to simplify the message to certain types of population. I have also given in the slide a link to the guidelines of the publication on plain languages that will help also to pass messages to this type of audience. I will put the links are in the slides, but I will put it in the chat at the end of the presentation. Okay, next slide, please. Then this tool is something that we are using internally. A difference of the previous, GPT-ATC is a conversational tool based on similar to what you are using on Mistral or ChatGPT or Gemini. For the moment, the use is internal to Commission, and it has a web interface where you can have prompts and you can write what you want, and you can use different models. And what I want to announce is this tool and its components will be offered as open source from 2026. It's something that we are working today. And we hope that even we can try to make it available a bit before, because the important also is for this tool is to, as it was mentioned before, have tools that you can ensure that you can use with content that you are not, it's in a secure way, that you are not giving to third parties. I want to, you can go to the next slide. Yes, next slide. I want to just to summarize, as Antonio was mentioned, some very, very brief rules that we are implementing in the Commission on the use of third-party generative AI tools in general, but also some of the rules are applicable to any generative AI tool. So in the case, if you are using third-party tools, especially free ones, to take in consideration to use public information or not personal information if you are not sure of what is going to happen with the information that you are including in the tool. Also, always check the results for bias and accuracies, because the way of the functioning for generative AI tools is that they can create fake information or hallucination. So it's important that you are able to review and to check if all the information before you use it is valid. The same way, watch out for intellectual and property rights. And we know that this is sometimes not easy, but in the case of image generators, you know that they are training with multiple styles available in the web, and probably you can already see if there are something that looks very familiar with a commercial brand. Then try to use the output of these tools as inspiration and not do copy paste it or not use it word by word. And if you are using these free tools, be careful when you're using for critical or time-sensitive tasks, because sometimes they are not available due to high demand or because you may reach the limits that you can use on the free tools. Next slide. I have also here shared other resources on AI literacy, or for example, that is a repository from the AI office on what are the practices for different organizations to help their staff to be skilled, and also some trainings that are open to all from the Commission. Next slide. And also I have put some resources if you are interested to learning more on AI, on available guides that are on in the EC library, in the publication office, on different topics related to AI. I think I have another slide. And also, as you are collaborating on organizations on the public sector, the Commission also is doing several efforts to collect what is happening, what are the use cases, for example, for public administration or in interoperability, and the services that are put for helping SMEs on improving and using AI, like the Digital Innovation Hub networks and others. So you have here some additional links there where you can find additional information. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Esther,
Yeah, please, for
thank you
questions.
very much indeed. Yeah, thank you very much. And as you, I think, were managing to observe in the chat, there are a number of useful questions and points being made in the chat as well. Thank you, commenting on the things that you were saying about the availability of European Commission courses, for example, to help in the adoption of some of these tools. And I think I think there was quite a bit of interest about the control of the data and so on. And I think you made a point about the importance of not putting your own proprietary, personal and other data into generative tools. Do you want to just emphasize that point?
Yes, what I mean is that, you know, there are multiple tools that now you can use freely. And then sometimes we don't pay as much attention as needed in the terms of the use of these tools. And when we are using them, we are giving them all our data. So if you are using your internal documents or for your organization, I think you need to be very careful on the type of tools that you are using and to ensure that your content, or even if you are using data personal content, where it goes and what is done with it. So I would suggest you, if you are using free or paid tools, to read carefully the terms of usage and know what is happening with the information, and not only the information, but also with the prompts that you are including there, where it's go and what happens with it, as the same way that you probably are checking with any other IT service that that you are using. Because sometimes we forget, we are very eager to use this type of services that are very helpful, but we need to be a bit careful on where the information goes, and especially if there is personal information, because we may fall in the impact of breaking the general data protection regulation. This is
Very
not
good.
for a personal use, is not so relevant, but when you use these tools as an organization, that is a different story.
Thank you very much, Esther. That they and I know people will be very much value that all of the presentation material will be available subsequently, not only in the recording but through the platform. Can I ask Antonio to take on now, please? Just tell us a bit more, if you'll be kind enough, Antonio, and then we'll move toward the panel about the regulation of AI and the EU platform tools that are available. Could you tell us a bit about those platforms first, and then the AI Act?
Of course, Andrew. First, I want to congratulate Esther for the presentation of the set of tools that has been liberated to the European Union citizens. And I am glad for this presentation because I need to confess, before preparing it, I was not aware. I find many of those tools quite useful, especially keeping in mind the quality of the storage, the guarantees of the European Union on treating the data as it should be treated. So very high recommendation for exploring those tools. And perhaps we could even, I wanted to ask Esther if there are specific trainings for those tools that you have stored on, or if you will be even willing to have a special session with us in the future for reviewing deeply those tools.
I think that there is information on the, as I mentioned, in the user guides, and probably there are some sessions recorded that are available for the interested users. So I suggest you, when you register and go to them, to go to the help page, and probably there you will see examples and tutorials and that type of recordings. But if you are interested in any of the specific tool, because the different tools I presented are, let's say, developed by different departments. But if you are interested on specifically in some of them, we can put you in contact, and there could be follow-on sessions, or even give you additional material if there is available. That's not a problem.
Esther. Yeah, very useful again. So you are seeing in the screen 3.5, I would say, tools that has been developed at the European level, you know, and that are, I would say also again, quite high quality services on generative AI. The first one is from France, Mistral AI. They are, I would say, you could approach them quite similarly to ChatGPT, the OpenAI solution, but they are based here in Europe, and they are offering also extended set of different possibilities for you to subscribe and to apply. Alec Alpha, as far as I know, I could be wrong, has a set of services a little more technical, more oriented to the industrial application, I would say. But if somebody here knows better about them, it will be also welcome to have more information on how to use them, how to approach their solution. Anyway, from Germany, growing very quickly and with excellent level of results. FreePick is on the graphical solution side, is a Spanish solutions with millions also of vector graphics, icons, and photos that are there for you to use quite freely or quite cheap. And Hugging Face is one example of how the European talent is used and exploited, I would say, from America. But it's true that it's a company based in New York, but created by French founders, and that is making a huge work on sharing models. So it would be a recommendation for you if you are interested in developing or applying new models on your internal applications to explore it. Next slide. Of course, most of you would probably know about OpenAI, ChatGPT. ChatGPT, most of you probably are using it on the chat box use, I would say interface, as a chatbot, but you need to know that there is also a development platform. The development platform, if you are curious or you have some technical capacities, I would recommend for you to explore it. It's also including the basic licenses, and it allows you to explore different or newer models or newer functionalities, more advanced than the regular one, even to automatize some services quite easily. And there are many courses, free courses online to quickly take advantage of those that interface. It's based on API, if you understand what is an API. But if you are careful on the use, monitor the use of the API for testing and for well-developed projects, it's very productive. You need to be careful with the data that you are, I would say, transferring to OpenAI. The free service, of course, is transferring everything to USA or wherever, because we don't really know. It could be China, but even those paid services directly contracted to OpenAI are transferring information to their shared servers in America, and most probably, and there are some options to block the information for them not to be used for training purpose. So share your information. I need to be very clear on this. They can use your information for training their system, so sharing that information with everybody. But even in those cases where the information is optionally blocked, that options are in the configuration of the program. You need to enable them. It was my experience at the beginning that even they changed the options, and suddenly I was sharing information without being aware of it. It could be I'm not sure if it was then or me, but anyway, I was sure that at the beginning I disabled the sharing of the information, and suddenly Sunday I found that they have created a new option, a new possibility, and were sharing by default the information. So this is something that you need to be very much aware. and take care of it. There is one approach, one possibility to ensure that the information is not shared, that is using ChatGPT via Microsoft Azure Europe. This is a technically possibility. It's possible, but it's not cheap because it's quite not so simple, I would say, to implement. You need to contract the service not with OpenAI directly, but with Microsoft Azure, and you need to set up the system in a way that is using Azure Europe data servers, and you need to train your own models. So not simple at all. It's possible. I have members that are doing it. Many members, I would say, many large companies are doing it. Most of them, I would say. So it's absolutely possible, but not cheap. Of course, you can. We were speaking before, no, about using this kind of tools for, I don't know, ideas generation. No, okay. I have a call from the funding and tender portals. I want to contrast my idea with the proposal definition, the call definition. Sorry, I don't have there is nothing against sharing the document, the call in the ChatGPT interface. Why not? It's public, okay? And you could even include your idea, but be aware that if you are not careful, that idea could be shared with others. And that's important for you to know. The Copilot from Microsoft is based on OpenAI models. Usually it's not the last one. They apply because the integration with the Microsoft 365 solutions take time, and they ensure that everything is running smoothly. So this is not usually the last version of the engines, but it's I would say is they say fully integrated, but it's I would say quite integrated with the usual Word, Excel, Teams application and others. No, so it could be of your interest if you are using that environment. And Google Gemini is also a very advanced model, okay? Chatbot model. Now, I will say growing very quickly on the voice interface. So I don't know if you are using your one Android phone or tablet, but you will find very quickly that you can enable Gemini for as interface, and it is quite inspiring. I use it, for example, in the car, to discuss with the system ideas. Or to know more about where I'm going. It's not very deep in knowledge, but is quite, I would say, easy to explore, basic knowledge. Just for your information, I didn't include it here, but just for your information, what most of my members at big companies around Europe are really using at industrial level is Amazon Web Service set of tools, okay, because they are very much oriented for industrial application, okay. It's not very well known, so I wanted just for you to mention, but it will be technically complex for you to implement at the cluster level unless you have the expertise for doing it. Okay, there is a question: if I go to ChatGPT via Azure Europe, will this mean that my data is shared? iShare stays more protected? It depends on because when you use Azure services, you can opt for building your own LLM, your own model. If you are building your own model, of course, the data is yours. Okay, and many large companies do that. Probably even the European Union, I'm not sure, but even the European Commission, for example, is using this kind of approach. So you are building your own model and in your own storage that is in Europe, and nothing goes outside it. So there are all the guarantees that you need for, but it's not cheap, or it's not very complex, I would say, but it's not so easy, of course, as using OpenAI in the public model. But there is possibilities. There are possibilities also to make a hybrid model with the mixing what is the public model with yours, or your own, or even using the public model, only the public model, but by storing I would say, the temporary information in the European. So depending on what approach you take, you need to review the conditions. They are always changing, I would say. So I cannot guarantee you anything at this moment. It depends on the contract, but I would say it should be guaranteed that the data is only shared with your internal resources. Again, you need to review. Next slide, please. Okay, visual design and visual design tools. Okay, so you have there a set. I would say that Canva probably is the best known with the AI models. Okay, you have also Midjourney, Stability. It's quite easy to check them. Even OpenAI has improved a lot on graphic creation. I personally use Adobe Photoshop with the AI models, the new AI models that are also quite, because I know better Adobe Photoshop, and they are quite useful. There are many tools that are implementing this kind of possibilities, AI modules, and for me they are extremely useful when enriching your documents or presentations. Next slide, please. Some recommendations, okay? We will go deeper, but GDPR, we cannot repeat enough the need for taking care of it, okay? But very important, train your team. Train yourself, but also your team. There are, Esther shared some European resources. There are other resources at global level that I would recommend. Deep learning.ea is an excellent basis for those that are a little more technical. For example, for prompt engineering, there is a very basic training course of 90 minutes that is excellent, I would say brilliant, for helping you to understand how to approach the prompting with very key ideas. But yeah, please, that will be my first recommendation. Train your team. Also train your members. If we speak about members, on IDEA we have developed during the last 3 months with the support of the regional government 19 courses on AI, or most of them on AI, yes. Some of them ranging from very basic concepts to very advanced ones, you know. So and we also develop a specific course just for our staff. That will be key. Another recommendation, most of you probably know, but if not, check the non-profit offers if you are non-profit. I think 90% of the cluster are non-profit. So EU services are free to use, but OpenAI, for example, for non-profits, apply a discount of 50% for the tariffs, you know. So for example, if you go for the Teams solution, Teams is the first level that open the possibility of not sharing information. It starts from 2 users, so I think it's something like 25 euros or dollars by month per user. But it opens new models, and it will be a easy access for OpenAI solutions. But 50% is a good discount. Also, of course, Microsoft, Google, even Canva, and many other entities offer non-profit discounts, and my recommendation will be to take advantage of them. Okay, and the last very general recommendation: pilot before scale, of course. So don't go suddenly to, I don't know, to implement Copilot without first checking it and understanding if it makes sense or not for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so we wanted to have somebody from the AI office to speak about the AI Act. Unfortunately, it was not possible. I am not a legal expert, so I will not enter on describing the AI Act. But just for you to know, if you don't know about it, this is a regulation based on risk levels, you know. And so there are systems that are directly prohibited. For example, those that use biorecognition of faces, for example, in public spaces to identify people. But this is not allowed at European level, okay? But you could be using high-risk information, okay? For example, we are in IDEA, we have a team dedicated for recruitment for our companies, for our members, you know, or IT staff, mostly IT, well, no, only IT staff. But we have information on recruiting. And so we are responsible for taking that information, you know, with keeping it with all the requirements coming from the European Commission. Of course, we could not share that information with public services, not guaranteeing the right per se sharing of it. In this case, no sharing at all. Okay, so you need to be aware of it. The most of your I would say information will not be included in this high risk level. But imagine, because you see here in the limited risk, the sample is including chatbot. This graph is from the European Commission directly. But a chatbot, if it is asking for critical information, I don't know, genders or religions preference, this kind of information will be high risk. So it depends on what you are asking or storing, what kind of information are you storing through your, in this case, through your chat box. Be aware of it. Hopefully you are, oh, not hopefully, it depends fully on your business model or your activity model. But if you are not using this kind of high risk information, you should be, it should be easier to manage the information. Next slide, please. So, in practice, you need to analyze what kind of information you are using and what kind of systems, not only, we are speaking about AI, but not only AI system, what kind of, I don't know, data storage, if you are using cloud, what kind of cloud services are you using, and where are those AI cloud systems storing the information? Even I don't know, for probably you know, but if not, all the services coming from Microsoft or Google and so on, or most of them, allow you, if you are paying for them, allow you to choose European servers or data centers. So our recommendation would be to use those data centers. But if you are using high-risk systems, you should have somebody responsible for that information, for compliance, and you should check, assess how are you complying with it. And in any case, it is good to have some disclosures on how are you applying using AI when you are using it. Very, very important. And as we said before, always review the information, especially if that information or the results of the system are being used for important decisions. And it will be good to ensure that the information is, I would say in a procedimental way, that the information is always reviewed by humans. Okay, next slide.
Thank you very much, Antonio. I think, can I just check, we're coming on to the panel debate. I just wanted, in relation to the AI Act, of course, there is a timeline for the implementation of the Act, which is really running between this year and 2027, isn't it? There is, am I correct in thinking that there is an international standard, ISO 42001, which is applicable to the governance of AI products? So, of course, that for those who are responsible for AI governance, that is a mechanism by which they can use an international standard for their own use of AI. Is that a reasonable additional benefit of that?
Yeah, there, you know, on IT, on the digital world, there are standards and also certification and recommendation. Yeah, you mentioned one.
Very good.
But
Antonio, yeah. May I? I want to bring our panelists in and stay with us. Thank you very much indeed for that very rich sources of information. And I know you can see in the chat that people are very interested to have access to many of these references and sources and the ability to follow up on that. And thank you very much indeed for that. Can we turn to our panelists? I think in a way, what we really want to do is to start with how, particularly with Andra Ternase first, who is the strategic, responsible for strategic development at Transylvania IT Cluster and working with members and partners. I think, would it be reasonable, Andra, to ask you about how you are using AI in your cluster in relation to your colleagues there? Can I say a big welcome to Andra? Are you there?
Yes.
Andra?
Yes, hello, and thank you very much for the invite. It's a pleasure to join the talk, and also I may say that already I've learned a lot. I kept redoing my notes because many of the things that were crucial points from our activity were reflected earlier. So I come from Romania, from Transylvania IT Cluster, based in Cluj, but with another office also in Oradea in Western Romania. We're representing mostly the northwestern region of Romania. And just to get to the point how we're using AI, of course, we are in a very steep process of learning because the dynamic of AI is evolving. So I would say that we try to use AI in many areas of our work, but we didn't go to a very wide variety of tools. So rather than, checking this tool and going to thousands that exist right now, we mostly, for example, focus on ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, as well as Notebook, language model, or Adobe Sensei, in order to see how they work and how they interfere with the different activities. Like our participants here, of course, the main area is for management tasks, for content structuring and generation, content revision as well. But also, for example, recently I've been chatting with a colleague from the financial department, and he was sharing that a very interesting way of using AI was in checking for errors in a spreadsheet that he was following. So this is also another area where AI, because I think Antonio was mentioning, is very, very thorough, very systematic. That's a way to use AI. Other than that, a lot of AI we use with our colleagues in marketing and communication, again, for content generation, for seeing how to structure a message to be more impactful or to target it towards a certain audience, but always reviewing it after being generated. I think another interesting way to look, and also in this area for creativity. We attended recently an in-house training with our staff, and the trainer was sharing that while AI was thought to impact mostly very scientific fields, very exact fields, it impacted a lot also the creative industry, because it generates, it creates, it gives options. So also in that area we are using AI, but also paying attention to the limitations there. I think everybody who played a bit with imaging knows how to recognize, with the number of fingers and so on, how an image is generated with AI or not. And this is where we are also using AI. And not last, I would like to point out the very important aspect that although we are not programmers in the cluster management, because there are many projects, research and innovation projects, in which we are involved, in which our members are involved, we also need to learn a bit about the mechanics, about how large language models are being trained. And in that sense, even as the management of the cluster, I think we need to learn, and we are using training tools to learn about all the process that has to do with AI. And perhaps I would like to end here on this point that relates to the training, because even here we are tempted to look at the myriad of tools and solutions that exist and try them out, because that's exciting. That was the first instinct, to put our messages into ChatGPT and frame them better, to try to see how to make a summary for a proposal with ChatGPT. So this was the temptation, to try the tools. At the same time, it is very important to trace back the learning about AI and learn about data science. What data is, what are the qualities of data, how data is gathered, stored, managed, and processed. So I think this is also extremely important when talking about the AI having and fundamenting the knowledge also about data science, as you mentioned, about prompt engineering, and we had an in-house training as well on prompt engineering, where we are also discovering the varieties and how to use a certain large language model because it's better with research, or because it's better with data gathering, or because it gathers data from certain areas that we're interested in. So data science, AI tools, prompt engineering, the use of it, and not last, human centricity.
Yeah.
How can we put that balance, and how can we avoid AI poisoning as well? And
Okay,
for
thank
those
you.
not familiar with AI poisoning, it's definitely something to go into, because talking about training, you know, it can get you into how perhaps a spam email is labeled as safe because the AI model was being trained, and that's one of the trends that I think it's going on. So human-centric and safe AI.
Okay, Andra, thank you very much indeed. Could I bring in, want to make sure we reach each of our panelists and give them an opportunity to add some useful information. Katja Eischinger, who is project manager at AII, which is artificial intelligence in Regensburg in southeast Germany. Katja, could I particularly, I think one of the themes here, of course, is we've got a lot of rich information about the potential use cases for AI, and we've got a lot of information about the available tools. Can you tell us a bit about your work with AI, and perhaps shed some light on the processes for identifying what are the best tools for particular use cases? I think Andra was quite rightly emphasizing that's part of what they have been doing, is identifying which AI tools work for which purposes.
Yeah, thank you very much. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation and also the introduction. And as Andra said, I already learned a lot, and I will also check out the AI tools Isa presented. And yeah, I think for how we are using it. So we are a cluster on AI. So of course we are encouraging our members, and we're located in an innovation and startup status, so tech-based. And also we have another cluster mobility logistics, so already more experience there. And now our newer cluster focusing really more on the topic of AI. So of course for us it's a little bit special because we offer a lot of different offers also for upskilling for our members. But of course it's also a big topic internally. And here, I think how we use it, I mean, we saw it with the Slido as well. I think the easy entry is always with tasks that can be automated easily. So it's the same for clusters, but all other organizations, so tasks that are really repetitive but time consuming, one of them or both. And some examples here are the summaries. So we have a lot of different topics, technologies, and really to get into a new topic, to have an overview there, it's really helpful to use AI for summaries. Also like proposal writing to get an overview at first, like about a new topic. And then also market research, for example. And then what was also mentioned, where we are also using AI, of course, is marketing. I think a challenge that what was maybe not that much mentioned, because of course there are a lot of challenges as data privacy and so on. I think a challenge that they also see is that we now see a lot of people using ChatGPT and so on. So I think there we also have to pay attention that it still stays individual, so that you're really using like AI either as a draft or then to improve your own drafts. But still, it's really important to bring in your own ideas and to really pay attention that it stays individual and that we don't have really like a monotony over LinkedIn and so on. So I think that's really important. And yeah, personally, I think I like to see it as a sparring partner. So as I said, either like get ideas and then improve it. Maybe I think it also was already mentioned in a test in a chat. Sorry, that you can also try to test different tools. So you can develop with ideas with one, then go to another, try to improve it. So that also works pretty well. And then for the tools, I think, yeah, of course, there are a lot of well-known tools like ChatGPT. I think it depends very much on the use case. So personally, I also like Perplexity because they give the sources. Of course, ChatGPT also tries to get there better. Was also mentioned in the chat that some people have still problems with ChatGPT hallucinating. Maybe that might be better with Perplexity, or of course try the European tools. But I think it depends a lot of also what you're doing with the tools, but also what it's also personal preference, I think. So also try to talk to your colleagues, other clusters, like today, what works well for them. And then also, I think you have to keep in mind that the tools are developing so fast. So even if you didn't like a tool, come back to it a few months later and try it again.
Thank you very much, Katja. Just to re-emphasize that point, because it did come up in the chat, the idea of using one AI tool to check and reinforce the work of another. But I think in the chat somebody said, but the whole point is to produce something that is fast. And of course, if you have to check it and review it and double check it, then of course you lose many of those advantages. But I think really the risks of getting things wrong they're too high, aren't they, still?
Sure, I think that's a good point. Like you cannot expect too much from AI as well, I think. And also you have to really try to learn. And in the beginning, it always takes more time because you have to get used to how to use it. And then also like with prompting, I mean, as Antonio said, we can do, I think, another webinar on prompting. And there are also a lot of offers. And yeah, we are also trying, for example, in the team, we have like a bibliography on like prompts that work well, but also here it's important to say that it develops so fast. So it's important, of course, to bring in context. And here also, yeah, it's worth taking the time to really bringing in the context and explain what you want. Like it's as if you talk to a new person, a new employee, and you have to explain what you're doing because otherwise you won't be happy with the results. And so I think it's really important, like to take the time, but also to check the results. Like of course you can use other AI tools, but also always take your expertise. And also that's what stays important, like the expert knowledge, the expertise.
Katja, thank you very much indeed. Can I bring our further panelists, please? Ola Svedin from OpenTech, Chief Executive at OpenTech in Sweden. Ola, could you tell us a bit about the work you're doing on AI? And perhaps I wonder if you'd be kind enough to pick up on some of the questions we've been getting in the chat and elsewhere about the difficulties of hallucination in some of these AI tools, but also perhaps give us a bit of a sense of as this very fast developing scene is happening and you understand how the industry is developing, how people should go about ensuring that they keep up to date with the best available tools.
Of course, thank you, Andrew, and thank you to ACCP for inviting me. So one of the things that I think we should reflect upon is that we are still trying to find useful ways to use these new tools. I mean, they are abundant. We have seen at least 25 use cases presented so far in this seminar. And one of the things that I think is important is to, I mean, we have mentioned the different pitfalls with using the tools. They hallucinate. Sometimes you need to double check the results, etc. What we have done at OpenTech is to not only use it in a myriad of use cases. Basically, we try it out for everything. quickly find information about cluster members, generate abstracts, generate templates for legal documents, generate quick presentations, all of those things that have been presented here today. But what we are doing right now is we focus on where we think the largest takeaways when it comes to productivity, where we can find those. For a cluster organization, I think the most important asset is the information about members, and I think many, if not all, of the participants in this seminar find it a challenge to keep track of that information. I think all of you, more or less, you use some kind of CRM system to keep track of the members. How do you get the information into that system? As a cluster manager, I find that is probably the most, difficult thing to overcome in the teamwork. So we have started using AI, large language model tools to make that process more efficient. That is one of the big areas where we see real productivity enhancements, and not only, nice to have tools where you could probably, with the state of things today, you could probably do it in the old-fashioned way, more or less just as fast. So that is one area where we focus. So we have one tool that we have developed that, for instance, takes an email chain and get the abstract of that in a suitable format, categorize it, etc., to put it in the CRM system. Of course, the next step would be to put all of the information in there without this step, and then getting the right information. But for us, at this stage, this is where we can find real productivity to lower the barrier for the team members, the cluster management team, to really pick up the information about members and getting it into the system.
We've in the small business I work in, we've got one bright young man who is acting, as it were, as the AI manager. Is that, do you think, for many small businesses, given the fast-moving scene that we're working in, is it a good idea to have somebody whose specific responsibility it is not just a kind of a part of the IT function, which is often about the wiring, as it were, but somebody who is very focused on all of these applications and understanding what they are and looking across even a small company and identifying how they can use it better?
I mean, whatever you call that function, that position in the company, I mean, you need to be curious, and you need to be in the forefront of testing these new tools out. I think that gives you a competitive advantage that is. I mean, if you don't do it, you're behind. So yes, you need that function in a small company, and then if it's the CTO, or if it's the R&D manager, or if you create a position for it, but it has to be an integral part of the strategy now. Again, we are at the stage where these are new tools, and we have been in other, I mean, looking back the last 30 years, with where we kind of stepped into the information age for real, we have seen a lot of these tools. What is happening now is it's going very quickly. I mean, we see new tools based on these large language models being deployed so widely. But I think also we should take a step back. We need to be curious. We need to try out new things, but we should also understand that this is a new set of tools. And for some of the use cases, we might not even see a productivity increase for a couple of years, or for many years.
Yeah.
So try out new things, but to increase productivity, find the use cases that are really crucial for you and your organization.
Can I just jog back, if I may, to Katja? We were talking earlier about data, and of course there is a there is a general, and I think one of the issues that Esther, I think particularly identified was the importance of understanding not only that you retain control of your own data, as it were, rather than seeing it simply being uploaded into servers that you do not know where they are and who they are. And there's also the question of the intellectual property and understanding the intellectual property of the material that you're using. I just wonder if any of our panelists want to leap in and just say, well, what's the best way in a company of managing that process? We have often people whose responsibility is in GDPR compliance, but how can we ally that data compliance with this AI management? Katja or Ola? Ola, you're on screen.
Yeah.
So I might have to come to you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think this ties into information handling in general. I mean, you need to be aware that the information that you upload to these tools can be used and will be used. I think most organizations use either Microsoft or Google tools, American-owned. They are governed by American legislation. So you're already there, so to speak. You might, from my perspective, of course, read the legal documents about how they handle your information. But if you're already using Google, for instance, you're already sharing all your information with Google. So in that sense, you might as well start using the tools. And then the bigger issue is, of course, should we all, consider migrating from tools owned by non-European entities? But that's another question for another seminar, perhaps.
Ola, thank you very much indeed. And thank you to our other panelists. And a very big thank you to Antonio, who's provided an enormous amount of information together with Esther. We're most grateful to you all. Before we conclude, I do want to go back to Nina, please, because it's always very important for our colleagues to have the opportunity to hear from you about what the funding opportunities are that are available. Please, Nina, if you could talk us through what's coming up in funding opportunities.
Many thanks. If you go to the Funding and Tenders portal, there's a lot associated with AI. Have a look. There are a lot of different calls. We just wanted to highlight a few that might be particularly interesting to clusters or your members. One is called AI-generated digital twins for science. So here, looking into advancing the use of Gen AI to create or enhance digital twins for using AI in modeling, simulation, or data fusion across research infrastructures, have new best practices and guidelines for AI-driven digital twin setup, and the emergence of transformative applications aligned with EU priorities. The call is published, as I said, on the Funding and Tenders portal. It has a deadline until the 18th of September, and you see the topic ID in the screen and the link in the chat. Then we another call that is called Leveraging Artificial Intelligence for Creativity-Driven Innovation. This is also a point that came up during the discussion. The creative and cultural industries are being transformed by AI, and this call aims to explore how this can be best managed and how the human-centric and ethical and inclusive AI use can be promoted. The call deadline is the 16th of September. And here you're expected to select at least 3 outcomes. So have insights into the AI's impact on the CCIs, do some policy recommendation ensuring fairness, diversity, and artistic freedom, case studies and tools supporting human-centric AI adoption, as well as platforms and hubs to foster the collaboration between the CCI and AI communities. And the link to the call is in the chat. Then, last but not least, just a note on coordination and support action. It's called the Roadmap for Next Generation Computing Technologies from IoT, device level to edge, to cloud, to HPC. So here, the call is looking for a comprehensive research and innovation roadmap covering the whole companion that I just mentioned to address the needs of the scientific community, of industry, but also in the societal domains. And the expected results are to create a support infrastructure for the European computing ecosystem and to develop roadmaps, including, for example, real-time performance, security, AI integration, and the use of generative AI for system engineering, and aligning these with the EU strategies and initiatives. The deadline for this call is on the 2nd of October. It will open in June, and you find all the details on the EU funding and tenders. And with that, hand over back to you, Andrew, to close this.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nina. I just want to highlight for all of our colleagues the upcoming cluster talks that will be available on the 28th of May. Going Global, Creating Partnerships and Expanding Business Abroad, for all of the, I hope, very many export-orientated clusters and businesses. And then on the 4th of June, looking at cluster governance and the ways in which clusters are organised, publicly led, privately led, and hybrid public-private partnerships. Those are the upcoming 2 cluster talks. I want to just remind everybody of the very many interesting links, references, and indeed discussion in the chat. I do hope you've had the opportunity to benefit from that. We've had a terrific amount of information from Antonio and from Esther, and some really good insights from them and indeed from our panelists, and we're really grateful to them. We're especially grateful to all of you as our participants for joining in, giving us your ideas on the chat, giving us your responses to the Slido, and for your attention and involvement today. It's a really important discussion. As Antonio said at the outset, a bit like a workshop today, people working through some of those issues. The discussion can be continued. I think there's an intention to do that at the cluster meet regions in Poland, but also it can be done through the cluster platform and the general discussion group there. So do please use the platform as your mechanism for taking up the issues and enabling you to access that vast range of really useful information which was available today. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for being with us. Do follow the website, follow the social media, make your own contributions there, please. And we look forward to seeing you again at the next cluster talk on the 28th of May. Thank you very much for being with us today, and have a very good day.